August 19th, 2025. There I was, sitting down at my desk, monitor on in front of me, anxiously waiting for the beginning of yet another gaming presentation. Jeff Keighley was to come up on stage and shower us with brand new announcements. Perhaps this is finally the one. We may get some word on Silksong. Maybe. But something was off this time around. We were just coming off of one of the most important moments for the industry this decade. The release of a next-generation console by any of the major gaming companies is always a moment to rejoice. It doesn't matter if you're interested in buying the console or not, it represents a new era of gaming, a new thing to look at and discuss. Shiny new plastic now available for purchase all across the world simultaneously, and with it, new games looking fancier than ever, and the promise that all of your favorite franchises will find their new home in what is now the most highly sought after piece of tech of the year. But not only that, while Nintendo might be firing from all cylinders trying to get their new console out there to the public, the rest of the console industry is currently right past the halfway mark of their generation's lifespan, arguably the perfect moment to show off what the hardware you already have at home is truly capable of. Developers now ditching the cross-gen period, games coming out that take full advantage of the hardware they're on to deliver brand new gameplay and visual experiences that simply were not possible before. Oh, and let's not forget the PC gaming scene. Valve's Steam Deck is still going strong and provides a great option for those who love gaming on a budget and tinkering with their console to make it just how they want it to be. Indie releases have also never been stronger than they are now, with a year that at that point had already given us all-time classics like Blueprints and Clair Obscur. So why then did I go into this year's Gamescom showcase feeling a deep sense of dread, like the hobby I grew up with and the industry I grew to love were in shambles, an absolute dumpster fire with no recourse whatsoever despite all these seemingly great things happening this year? Had the moment I feared finally come to pass? Had I fallen out of love with gaming? I whispered to myself while looking at my monitor in a barely lit room. The show was over. But the mental breakdown that followed, that was just the beginning. I stayed up late that night arguing with friends in a Discord call about how inexcusable it was for a show of this sort to last this long, to bring attention to such meaningless, clear, cash grab games, the hypocrisy behind what was merely a veneer of care and thoughtfulness moved by a machine well oiled and ready to destroy the very foundational pillars that made gaming so good to begin with. That night, I had lost myself, drowned amidst the mountains of toxicity and negativity that were absolutely everywhere online. They had finally gotten to me, made their way into my head, and sipped away at the love and passion I felt for what had been my go-to hobby all my life. The story I share here today isn't just my experience. Sure, I'm recounting some of my own personal events that led me to feeling the way I did, but the conclusions I had reached the night of April 19th, 2025 aren't mine alone. They represent a feeling so widespread in the gaming community that it's infiltrated every aspect of gaming discourse online. Now, more than ever, gaming communities all across the internet are dealing with toxicity born out of hopelessness. So how did we reach this point exactly? And if you, like me, have found that this increase in toxicity and negativity online has been affecting how you engage with the hobby in a negative way, how can we fix that? Because trust me, we can fix that. This story, it can have a happy ending, although it may be a story filled with some very tense situations. Well, for as much as I tried giving some emphasis to the good things going on in gaming recently, the reality is that a sentiment as widespread as this hate has become isn't born out of sunshine and rainbows. People tend to lose faith in times of crisis, and as I'm sure you're aware, dear viewer, the world of 2025 is a big blue ball filled to the brim with crisis. And you know, this video's language is English. The audience that could potentially come across it online if the algorithm gods ever decide to grace me with their good fortunes is Western and mostly from developed nations, but I'm not here to discuss the specific reasons why certain parts of the world find themselves going through critical socio-political moments. Nah, buddy, don't worry. I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. You see, the entire world is fucked too. This is a global trend. It's okay, we're all heading in the wrong direction in some way or another if you look hard enough, just at varying speeds and intensities. Yeah, that is to say that reason number one for the increased hate and toxicity online is something intrinsic to the historical moment we are living in. We are reflections of the content we consume, and now more than ever with the age of the internet, the content we consume is dictated by algorithms that prioritize keeping us glued to the screen above anything else. We are products of our environment, and let me tell you, there hasn't been a shittier environment to be in for a while, just in general. The generations of people alive today are going through what is most definitely the largest social experiment ever conducted, and we're just here in the middle of it all, serving as future data points on a graph, trying to explain how we went from the invention of Wii Sports to getting all of our mental health support from an AI chatbot in less than 2 decades. Games are more expensive now than they've ever been.
Actually, if you account for inflation, the prices today match the industry standard of $60. Selling your games for $70 is actually selling them below their old market value, and also, even disregarding that, cartridges in the 90s varied wildly in price, and some were even more expensive than the games of today. We live in a vacuum, and there has been no change in our consumption habits whatsoever for the past 30 years, and every other industry's pricing has remained consistent, even those that didn't exist in the past, and I am very smart, yes.
I have to be honest here, as someone who spent most of their life gaming on one of these 3 platforms, the last couple of years have made gaming on 2 of them significantly more expensive, and the only reason why PC isn't included in that equation as well is because I don't care about playing fancy games like GTA 6 at 4K or anything like that. I'm mostly content with playing my little indie games and some cheaper releases on Steam and stuff, and, well, if I were to get into the gaming market today as a PC gamer that cares about these things, well, let's just say it'd take a lot of Steam sales to make up that initial investment. Holy sh... Also doesn't help that one of those 3 platforms I just mentioned straight up fucking died this past year. Xbox. Buddy. Turns out investing over $80 billion into buying up studios promising quick returns on investments to shareholders while you're subservient to a much larger corporate entity than yourself who only seems to care about AI making more money than your entire silly little division could ever dream of in a lifetime could lead to some very small, teensy-tiny unforeseen consequences that could just perchance destroy everything you've been known for since the inception of your company. Look, I grew up on Xbox. Saying that like it's a drug or something, and it might as well be at this point. And this year was what it took to finally get me sober. The Xbox 360 was great. Good games, good system interface, mostly, cheap, reliable, after some trauma, just overall a solid ecosystem comparable to those of Nintendo and Sony at the time. Never before or since have we had a moment in time where all 3 current-day console manufacturers had their own successful platforms, and this competition did show back then. Both Xbox and PlayStation tried to copy the Wii's casual appeal. Xbox Live forced Sony to run after developing their own online infrastructure from basically nothing, taking a lot of ideas from how Xbox Live Gold worked at the time. The whole pricing scandal at launch also forced Sony to lower their pricing massively, and with the PS3 now posing a real threat, Microsoft had to take their console's integrity very seriously in developing a machine that wouldn't spontaneously combust this time. Maybe. Even the proud Nintendo recognized that the Wii's declining sales later in the generation were due as a result of the failure to appeal to their core gamer audience, so they made the Wii U with the entire proposition being that it would unite both casual and hardcore gamers alike. Didn't say competition always led to successful ideas or anything, but arguably, that was the healthiest the games industry has been in the 21st century. So needless to say, losing Xbox has had a terrible impact on how the gaming landscape looks, and we could have seen this death coming from the moment they proclaimed that they lost the worst generation to lose. Ever since they switched to Game Pass being their main subscription model and their main business model, well, you know, things have only really gotten worse, and at first I thought it was gonna be great, okay? I think we all did. We all recognized Game Pass as just this fantastic deal. Remember when they gave it out for like $1 for a long time? Yeah, everyone was happy. Everything was great, and we let them gobble up a bunch of studios, and we paid no mind, no attention at all, because all these games were gonna come to Game Pass. And we didn't even notice that the business model of a subscription service, it's the same as like Netflix or Disney Plus. It's the same thing. Just because it's gaming, it's not going to change. They prioritize quantity over quality. We let Microsoft gobble up studios, rework their internal structures, fire a bunch of employees to deliver a steady cadence of mid. After they openly ditched selling hardware and single-packaged software as their main business strategy, how many Xbox games released that you remember fondly? Games on franchises they still own, preferably. Some they had some actual influence in creating, maybe? Yeah, it's hard to think of many, isn't it? I mean, sure, Forza Horizon 5 was great for what it was, I had a lot of fun with that, but it's nothing new, it's the 5th entry in a long-running series. Yeah, we had Fly Simulator, that's great for a very specific kind of person, and I guess Grounded was alright, and there was Pentiment. Yeah, Pentiment's nice, that's very niche too. Psychonauts 2 was great, but we're already all the way back at 2021, and to find the last game they released that truly meant anything to me, you gotta go back to Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which itself is a direct sequel to an idea and style they had already established in Ori and the Blind Forest in 2015. You may say I just haven't been giving enough Xbox published titles a try, and sure, you'd be somewhat correct. I mean, there may be some games out there that are hidden gems that I've just missed. I can't get to them all, but I have been a subscriber of Game Pass, checking it weekly for new releases and playing a variety of titles for years now, or at least I was a subscriber until very recently. We'll get to that. Nothing really stood out to me apart from the obvious stuff like Hi-Fi Rush. I played Avowed earlier this year. It was a game I had already pre-downloaded and was excited to try out. After all, it pertains to what is my favorite genre of fiction. I love fantasy settings. I also love RPGs and skill trees and spells and wizardry of sorts. I thought it'd be a surefire hit. Why did I speak like that? Is that what a wizard sounds like? I spent 3 hours trying to get the game to open on release day. Turns out there was a bug for some reason and it required double its actual size in gigabytes to be downloaded to my SSD. That's fine, I don't have that space, but, you know, sure. Once I downloaded the game, it started installing itself all over again, checking files or whatever in its launcher, and so far so good, I guess, but then it got stuck at 100% and it never let me open it. I uninstalled everything, came back the next day, freed up the extra SSD space to give it a try again, and I promise you, I gave it a very long and very fair try. I made it most of the way through the story, but I want you to imagine a loaf of white bread right now, on top of a plain table, with plain walls, plain taste, plain visuals. It might kill you if you're allergic, and it's probably not that good for you, but you should just get organic bread instead. Just get organic bread. But that's just the Microsoft games, guys. Come on, you might not be a fan of Call of Duty, or maybe you're not a Diablo guy, or a Forza Horizon guy, but it doesn't matter. You're not paying for those. You're paying for what exactly are you paying for again with Game Pass? Oh, you are paying for Call of Duty now. Yeah, you're definitely paying for Call of Duty. Now, I understand that. What else? Fortnite Crew. Old Ubisoft slop. No, great, fantastic. A whole bunch of indie games that you can get for dirt cheap on any Steam sale. Go play all of these when you get the chance, by the way. Please tell me in the comments if I'm being stupid. I can handle it, I think. But look, who is this subscription service even for anymore? The guy that plays Fortnite or Call of Duty? Really? That guy with Fortnite Crew and Call of Duty Day 1? Isn't it better for them to just buy it, a one-time purchase, and not spend this much a year on it? Oh my god. Well, maybe the guy that likes indies. Yeah, sure, the guy that loves indie games with this great, fantastic indie library on Game Pass for this much a month? Buddy, Steam exists. It's right there. I promise you it's right there. It's right off screen right now. I'm looking at it. It's here. I promise. Maybe just the guy that doesn't know what to play and just wants to binge games like Netflix or something. The guy that doesn't really care for reviews or whatever, just wants to hop in and see his Xbox, TV, computer, everything Xbox, and just play games sometime. Well, then that's some very expensive Netflix for the casual gamer, isn't it? My god! This company, this entity, it is just so unbelievably screwed. Have you heard the recent news that apparently they want to reach 30% operating profit within the Xbox division? Guys, Nintendo often doesn't reach that. They don't get that consistently, and you want to skin them alive for a repackaged Kirby game already. Where was I? Oh, yeah. That was reason number 2. The console market becoming more segmented, with each company essentially doing their own thing, not competing directly, and one of the 3 main console choices not even being really a choice anymore. Yeah. Speaking of skinning people alive though, Nintendo's 2025 has been a roller coaster of emotions, and everything surrounding the company this year has been both so invigoratingly hype, but also so soul-siphoning bad, it's crazy. A lot of the discourse surrounding Nintendo has always been negative online. I feel like more so than any other gaming company apart from maybe EA or Ubisoft. Sometimes undeservingly so, but other times very much deservingly so. However, given the immense success of the Switch and the troubled lead up to release that the Switch 2 faced this year, I got the sense that being negative about the company became just the straight up standard opinion to have. $80 Mario Kart, 15 FPS game chat, $10 console guide, $80 repackaged Switch game, lack of console personality, bring back the good old days. All while the console broke every sales record under the sun and they casually pumped out another modern classic. Look, I'm not here to deny my internal bias. If you've been following this channel for a while, then well, first of all, thank you for being patient with me. It's been a while. Sorry, I was busy rearranging my mental faculties after a gaming-induced mental breakdown, but even if you're new here, then you must understand that I own Pokemon Legends EA for the Nintendo Switch system. I am clearly a masochist to some extent. I grew up with Nintendo as much as I did Xbox. I was one of those spoiled kids. I got to play with 2 ecosystems at home instead of 1. I didn't have to pick a team. But the reality is, even to this day, if I have to pick one console manufacturer to play games on for the rest of my life, I'm picking Nintendo. That just made existing online as a genuine Nintendo game fan in 2025 that much more brutal, because I'm not a fan of everything the multi-billion-dollar corporation judges fair and honest, of course not. No one should be. But I do believe in their game design philosophy, gameplay first, delivering multiple fun, unique experiences complete out of the box for a one-time fee, the classic way to sell me a game. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I prefer live service games over this, or the forever games as they call them. I especially do not prefer it to not owning anything at all in any capacity through Game Pass, and while expensive, at least here I have some games to spend my money on. But yeah, the critical thinking consumer in me finds it hard to justify that $80 price tag. My personal view on it for Mario Kart World specifically is that it was fine. I mean, I don't like it, I don't like what it represents, but having a bundle at launch is more than we had with the original Switch, let me tell you that. So we are not paying that full $80 for the game most of the time. You can just see the statistics of how many people got it through the bundle. Though, Kirby and Mario Party, guys? Are you serious? I know these are packaged as DLC of sorts, but you're locking the Switch 2 editions of these games behind said DLC. If someone just wants to play their old game with fancier graphics, something you've shown to us can be added for a value of as low as free? Well, then they're forced to buy them for $20 extra. And if you're a new customer, or God forbid, someone who isn't fully aware of everything gaming all the time, when you walk into a store and see a Switch 2 case with a Switch 2 cartridge and what is most definitely a Switch 2 price, you could very well purchase this game not knowing you've bought yourself an upscaled Switch 1 title for $80. That's reason number 3. Even the biggest events in gaming, namely the release of a highly anticipated new console with objectively great games and a fair asking price, isn't enough to stop the hate bandwagon from turning all across the internet. This environment that we're in, it is tiring, and all I've done so far is explain to you why it is the way that it is, and with some cherry-picked examples, alright? I didn't even get into anything PlayStation related, because I think that's been covered enough at this point. Or what about Ubisoft? That's a sinking ship. EA is still around kicking me in the nuts for believing that Plants vs. Zombies will ever have a good game ever again. If I were to cover it all, you'd have to add an extra 0 to this video's runtime. But I'm not here to provide you with yet another negative take on the industry, just another guy yelling into the void about how bad everything is. No, that's not the point. Understanding why these trends are happening, where they originated from, and why everything is so negative as of late, that's important because these reasons, they don't come out of nowhere. They're valid. These are real problems, and we must understand them so that we can work past them and develop a healthier relationship with the hobby that we love. I said this story could have a happy ending. I got out of that negativity slump after all. Now I stand before you as a messenger, bringing you some of my experiences, telling you what I did to relearn my love not just for games but the industry they're a part of, to hopefully help foster a more positive attitude when it comes to video games. And the first thing I did was learning to let go. Humans love familiarity. Change is difficult, and even when it's for the best, it may cause discomfort in the process. That applies to video games as well. The amount of beloved IPs that are out there these days is simply absurd. An endless ocean of video game sequels everywhere you look. But the thing is, not all franchises that have been around for a while have been treated equal. Not everyone's as lucky as Mario, Zelda, or God of War. For every game franchise that manages to stand the test of time, you've got others that have developed a reputation for having a spotty track record, or those that have straight up just gotten worse with every release. The point I'm getting at here is, I don't think I'm alone in struggling with feeling tied to a franchise in a way. Almost emotionally so. Maybe you grew up playing those games, but nowadays they're simply not what they used to be. I grew up with Far Cry, for example. Far Cry 3 was great for its time. So damn great that people are playing the same stupid game to this day with worse performance and more bugs. Yup. Games like Plants vs. Zombies hold a special place in my heart as well, and I don't think that will ever change, but the fact is, every game this franchise has pumped out for the past 6 years now has been middling at best and offensively bad at worst. But I keep coming back, hoping with every new release, ignoring the clear red flags just because I love these games and I want more like them. This is why learning to let go is so important. Every year games are coming out that are worth your time, I promise. Titles and franchises you've never given a chance to, or completely new IPs by unknown studios. Sometimes games in the same genre of your favorite franchise could be released without you knowing and be better, more polished, and much more rewarding than anything you could get out of just sticking to the usual. Don't get stuck to buying a game just because, oh, it's the new Call of Duty game, guys! I loved those growing up. Never mind the fact I've left a negative review on Steam for the past 3 years on every title I've played from this franchise. Oh no, no, no. I'm gonna buy it and play it again and get mad every time I leave the game and feel frustrated with my purchase. Because if I keep playing it, one day I'll feel the way I did when I was a kid. maybe again. That's never gonna happen, that's not how it works, stop that. So, if you ever find yourself buying a game just because, oh, it's a Nintendo game, oh, it's a PlayStation game, as if that ever happened nowadays, then you've identified one of the possible culprits for why you're feeling so negative about gaming. Trust me, there's enough great games coming out on any possible genre you could think of every year. So, go get out there, go give them a try, learn to value your time as a player, and maybe you'll find your new favorite game. The next thing I'd urge you to try out is rewind the clock a little. We're at an age now where consuming games digitally is better than ever. On PC, platforms like Steam grant you access to the last 20 years of gaming. They hide some absolute classics behind what is an essentially free price tag. And while we're still on PC, if console games are more to your liking, then rest assured that every console under the sun can now be emulated somehow. These days, it's really not hard to set up Dolphin and just start playing some Wii and GameCube classics, or give a try to any PS2 games you might have missed. Those were like real entire generations of gaming that happened at one point, with titles that still hold up to this day in a lot of cases. Some of which served as the foundations for future titles that you may have come to enjoy. And you're not excluded from this idea if you're not a PC gamer either. Games now cost $70, $80, maybe even $90 each if you plan on getting DLC. It's not an exaggeration to say that for the price of like 2 games now, you can just buy a console from a decade ago or so. These consoles have all been hacked at this point, there's no digital storefronts anymore, and in most cases you can easily acquire an entire console's library with an SD card and access to a computer for an evening. Not that I'd recommend you doing that or anything. I got myself a Nintendo 3DS a couple months ago. You see, I love my Switch too. It's a great, fantastic handheld console. A handheld console that I can play in my bed, or maybe in the living room, but a portable console that I feel comfortable taking anywhere? No. Hell, the games that are designed for it don't even feel like they're meant to be played portably either. They're big experiences. I recognize that fact, and for the price of 1.5 Switch 2 games, I got myself a Nintendo 3DS. I've been taking it to college, I've been using it when I have to wait in line for whatever reason anywhere. Moments where I'd only have access to my phone and doom-scrolling terrible internet gaming discourse have now been replaced with 100%ing Super Mario 3D Land, a game I had never played before. I've already beaten New Super Mario Bros. 2 as well, and I'm working through Metroid Samus Returns and Mario Kart 7 at the moment. Discovering games I previously would have never given a shot to on original hardware at a very appealing price. So that's my tip number 2. Go out there and buy yourself whatever old plastic you fancy. Pretty much every console released after the 90s is easy enough to get at a good price now, and also easy enough to fill with games to play. And the best part is, 90% of the time these games aren't being subjected to the modern public's scrutiny 24/7. And if you do end up finding a new favorite, chances are it has a niche community tied to it to this day, and it is a very dedicated one that you could maybe be a part of, develop connections with people, and maybe make some real friends even. There you go, that's plenty you can do with video games without breaking the bank, and without sacrificing the quality of your experiences while also being present in positive online spaces. Doing those 2 things alone has helped me exit a moment where I was feeling so done with everything video games. I actually started playing a large variety of titles this past month, indies and AAAs alike. I went through all of those 3DS games I had mentioned, I also played Peak a lot with friends, I beat Hades 2, Silksong, and now I'm going through Slime Rancher 2, and I'm loving this game to death, by the way, I super recommend it. I also played some AAAs like Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World. That was a great game that I did not have to pay $80 for because I had a voucher just in my account sitting there, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta use this, it's gonna expire. I just decided to buy Kirby, went in with no expectations whatsoever. My first ever Kirby game, and I loved it. I 100%ed the whole thing. I played through the entire Hitman World of Assassination series this year. I beat Clair Obscur, a game in a genre that I used to ignore. I gave a try to my first ever Monster Hunter game in Monster Hunter Wilds, and my first Pokemon game in ZA. And while not all of those have been definitive hits with me, honestly, I've been feeling better than I did in a while just by allowing myself to experiment and going into those experiences based off of my own feelings and interpretations of a game's content instead of listening to what an online mob had to say on any of these games. At the end of the day, for the vast majority of people, video games are a hobby, and if you've made it this far into a video of this sort, then I think it may be your main hobby in life. So learn to nurture it, treat it well, extract the best parts of it so that they may have a positive impact on your life. Develop that ever-important consumer consciousness, but not through hate and continued negativity. Do it instead through smart choices, putting your money to good use, making it worth your time. That way, we can ensure that video games can remain a part of our lives for as long as we're present in this chaotic mess that is the Earth. Have it be an anchor of positivity, something to be proud of. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe if you liked what you saw. This one took a lot out of me to put together. I appreciate the continued support here on YouTube. I know the videos slowed down recently and they're going to pick back up starting with this one, so thanks again for making it to the end. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye!